On February 9, 2004, a silver 2003 Saturn sedan traveled eastbound on Route 112 in Haverhill, New Hampshire. The driver of the vehicle was 21-year-old nursing student Maura Murray from Conway, New Hampshire. The last confirmed sighting of Maura happened at around 6:30 p.m. when she stopped for gas at a Sunoco station in Lancaster, New Hampshire. At some point after 6:30 p.m., the young woman's car veered off the road, down an embankment, and slammed into a snowbank. It came to rest approximately 75 feet off the roadway and 50 feet down an embankment. Somehow the airbags deployed, but Maura was nowhere to be found. Her cell phone was missing, her purse was missing, and while it appeared as though no other vehicles were involved in the crash, her car was heavily damaged. An investigation began immediately. As the hours passed by and the sun set over New Hampshire, it became clear that this was not your typical accident. First, witnesses reported seeing Maura's car swerving as if she had either fallen asleep or become distracted. One motorist recalled flashing their high beams at the car because they assumed the driver was drowsy. But the motorist only noticed something odd about the car's headlights. According to them, both headlights were on low beam instead of just the one, which made it appear as if someone was sitting in the passenger seat. But why would someone sit in the passenger seat and swerve off the road? Second, although the crash was reported at 6:45 p.m., the accident itself probably occurred between 4:30 and 5 p.m. This conclusion was drawn because of the temperature of the engine and the lack of tire tracks. There were no skid marks leading up to the accident, which meant that Maura didn't slam on her brakes. She simply drove off the road and hit the embankment. Third, the accident itself looked staged. There were no signs of a struggle inside the car. The doors were unlocked and the windows were rolled up. It appeared as if Maura had deliberately crashed her car. But why? With no answers and no sign of the missing woman, officials were forced to shift their focus to solving the case. They began searching the area for any sign of Maura. Even though police believed she may have run away from the scene of the accident, her family never lost hope that she would be found alive. On March 8th, nearly 3 weeks after she disappeared, hundreds of volunteers gathered in Haverhill, New Hampshire to search for the missing woman. Her mother, attorney, and friends walked door to door, passing out flyers and speaking with locals who may have seen Maura. To date, there have been numerous searches for Maura involving hundreds of people. Unfortunately, none of the searches turned up any new leads in the case. After exhausting every possible lead, authorities began piecing together the events leading up to the accident. When investigators searched Maura's apartment, they discovered several personal items missing, including her cell phone, laptop, bank cards, social security card, passport, and medication. Although the obvious assumption was that she'd run away, police also couldn't rule out foul play. Before the accident, Maura had been enrolled at the University of Massachusetts, Dartmouth, where she studied nursing. However, she had recently withdrawn from the university under suspicious circumstances. While attending UMass, Darty Maura changed her major 5 times before deciding to withdraw. At the time, she told her family that she wanted to take some time off before returning to school in the fall, but once she returned home, she began acting strangely. According to her brother Michael Rivera, Maura was distant, quiet, and depressed. She wasn't the same person. Even more troubling, she refused to speak with her family about what was wrong. In the few days leading up to the accident, Maura called her family and friends multiple times. The calls were completely out of character for the young woman. Typically, she wouldn't call unless it was absolutely necessary. During the phone calls, she spoke very little and seemed distraught. In fact, her sister described her voice as monotone and lacking emotion. On the day of the accident, Maura had 2 phone calls with her ex-boyfriend, Ryan Dean. Ryan had recently broken up with Maura via email. And in the days following, he received multiple phone calls and text messages from his ex-girlfriend. He described her as being sad and asking for another chance. The couple hadn't spoken since January 29th. It's important to note that during the early stages of the investigation, police refused to rule anything out, not even foul play. According to New Hampshire State Police, Maura's credit cards were used after she disappeared. Her bank account was clean before the accident, yet after her disappearance, there were withdrawals in both Pennsylvania and Massachusetts. Someone was using her money and her identity. So let's take a moment and consider the evidence against Maura. Her car was found crashed off the side of a lonely road. She was nowhere to be found. Her phone and personal documents were missing. She was seen arguing with her ex-boyfriend days prior, and she withdrew a large sum of money from her bank account. Most importantly, she changed her behavior, becoming extremely withdrawn and upset. However, there was one problem with the theory that Maura ran away. If she did run away, then why would she use her own money and jeopardize her future? Plus, who would willingly go out into the middle of nowhere in freezing temperatures with no cell phone or identification? If she intended to start a new life somewhere else, why not travel to a warmer climate like Florida? Why not leave behind the drama in New Hampshire? All of these unanswered questions cast doubt on the runaway theory. This brings us to the next question. Could someone have kidnapped Maura? If so, why hasn't she been found all these years later? From the beginning, police treated the case as a missing persons investigation. Sure, there were similarities between Maura's case and other kidnappings, but there was also one big difference. After the accident, her DNA was found on the steering wheel and airbag of her vehicle. It seems unlikely that her abductor would have left such crucial evidence at the scene of the crime. Furthermore, in the days following her disappearance, her credit card was used twice. Once in Pennsylvania and again in Massachusetts. A person using Maura's stolen credit card leaves behind their own DNA at the point of sale. Wouldn't it be easier and safer for the person who took her to withdraw cash from an ATM using her bank card? This action would leave no traceable evidence behind. Additionally, if Maura was taken, why hasn't her body been found all these years later? Surely a killer wouldn't leave such a high-profile case unsolved for nearly 20 years. While the weight of the evidence suggests that Maura intentionally crashed her car and ran away, there are too many inconsistencies to come to that conclusion. So where is Maura? We may never know for sure. From the beginning, police suspected that Maura's accident was staged, but they never proved it. Although the evidence suggests that she voluntarily wrecked her car, it's not entirely convincing. Perhaps she was trying to escape her problems at school, or she got cold feet about starting a new life. Whatever the reason, she abandoned her car and disappeared into thin air. It's a plausible explanation, but it doesn't explain why she was acting so strangely in the days leading up to the accident. The bottom line is that we can't ignore the fact that Maura's case has many suspicious circumstances surrounding it. And whether we're dealing with a runaway or a kidnapping, this case remains unsolved and Maura is still missing. With no new leads in the case, investigators are hoping that someone will come forward with information about the incident. Meanwhile, Maura's family is still holding out hope that she will be found alive. In 2016, her brother told the media, "I feel like if anything happened to her, we would have found something by now." Maybe he's right. In recent years, there have been several theories regarding Maura's disappearance. One theory proposes that she was abducted by a drifter who often frequented truck stops. Witnesses recall seeing a man matching the description of a known drifter in the area on the day of the accident. His name is Terry Rasmussen. Rasmussen is currently serving time in prison for unrelated crimes. Cell phone records show that he used a payphone near the accident site around the time of the incident. While Rasmussen certainly fits the profile of a potential kidnapper, he has denied any involvement in Maura's disappearance. Another theory proposes that Maura accidentally crashed her car and panicked. She fled the scene and succumbed to hypothermia, not far from where her car was found. If this is true, her body may never be found because it decomposed in the wintry conditions. Still, there are just too many unanswered questions in this case. And the longer it goes on, the more likely it is that Maura's secret will be taken to the grave. Which theory do you think best explains what happened to Maura? Let me know in the comments below. And thank you for watching this episode of DarkCase Files. I hope you found it informative. If you did, please consider subscribing and joining our growing community. I'd also like to take a moment to say a special thank you to our supporters, whose names you can see on screen right now. The support helps to keep the content free for everyone forever. As always, I'm the host. This has been DarkCase Files, and I'll see you next time.